Imagine your leader has just committed a terrible atrocity. Maybe you didn't agree, maybe you stayed quiet out of fear, but now you're trapped, not just metaphorically. The ships that could carry you away, back to your home, your family, even to justice, they're on fire. Not because they had to be, but because your leader wanted them gone. That's not just betrayal, that's control. Thanks for joining me at Third Age Ideas. Today we're digging into one of the most iconic betrayals in all of Tolkien's legendarium, Fëanor's burning of the Teleri ships at Losgár. But what if this infamous act wasn't just about leaving Fingolfin behind? What if the burning wasn't merely strategic or spiteful, but something darker, a purge? A calculated move not just to sever ties with rivals, but to trap his own followers, silence dissent, and guarantee absolute obedience. Let's talk about the secret sabotage theory. That Fëanor burned the ships not just to abandon Fingolfin, but to prevent rebellion in his own ranks. Before we dissect the theory, let's take a step back and set the stage, especially for anyone who might not have read the Silmarillion recently. Those elvish family trees can get tangled. Fëanor, son of Finwë, is the brilliant, fiery, and deeply flawed craftsman who created the Silmarils, gems that captured the light of the two trees of Valinor. When Morgoth, the original big bad of Middle-earth, steals them and flees to Middle-earth, Fëanor flips the table. He swears an unbreakable oath with his 7 sons to retrieve the Silmarils at all costs, defying even the Valar, the gods of Tolkien's world. But here's where things start unraveling. Fast. Fëanor leads the Noldor through the bone-chilling, grinding ice to get to Middle-earth. But the journey would be easier over water, and he doesn't have enough ships to bring all the Noldor across the sea, and the only ships that could make the journey belong to the Teleri, the seafaring elves who have no interest in supporting his blood-soaked rebellion. So, of course, Fëanor and his followers kill them and take the ships during the first kinslaying. After making the crossing, Fëanor lands at Losgár in the north of Middle-earth with just part of the Noldorin host. The rest, including his half-brother Fingolfin and their followers, are still back in Aman, waiting for the ships to return. Instead, Fëanor sets the ships on fire. Now, traditionally, this move is seen as prideful, maybe even a moment of emotional combustion, pun fully intended. The Silmarillion tells us Fëanor said, "Let those that cursed my name curse me still and wind their way back to the cages of the Valar. Let the ships burn." Strong words, passionate, sure, but let's look at this again. That rhetoric isn't just anti-Fingolfin, it's anti-weakness. It carries contempt, not just for enemies, but anyone who might waver, who might look back, who might question. There's another line in the Silmarillion from chapter 9. "What I have left behind, I count now no loss, needless baggage on the road it has proved." Needless baggage. Oof. That might seem like a jab at Fingolfin and his people, but doesn't it also sound uncomfortably like something an authoritarian might say about moderates in his own party? And here's where things get strikingly chilling. Among Fëanor's own sons, there were cracks beginning to show. Medros, the eldest and arguably the wisest, is described in certain sources as standing aside during the burning. He doesn't protest, doesn't stop his father, but also does not join in. Tolkien writes, "Medros alone stood aside." That line speaks volumes. Why wouldn't Medros speak up? Fear? Loyalty? Maybe. But consider if he already knew it wouldn't make a difference. If he understood this wasn't just about leaving people behind, it was about removing options, eliminating risk, and that risk might have included people standing right next to Fëanor. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather, the sun in the fire. In one lesser-known version of the story, Tolkien wrote that one of Fëanor's sons, Amrod, was asleep on one of the ships when they burned. He was killed in the fire. This version didn't make it into the Silmarillion as published, but the notion stuck around in Tolkien's later writings, including The Peoples of Middle-earth in the History of Middle-earth series. In these drafts, Amrod had second thoughts about the kinslaying and had intended to abandon the campaign. Think about that. A son considering desertion, but never getting the chance. Was Amrod's death an accident? Tolkien seemed unsure, himself revising and reworking the details across multiple versions. But the very fact That he imagined a scenario where a son dies because he wanted to turn back shows us something. Fëanor's camp wasn't united. And depending on how you read the story, it was dangerous to disagree. Even without Amrod's accidental or intentional death, the act of burning the ships meant no one could return. There was no longer any way for moderates, questioners, or the guilt-stricken to go home. Fëanor forced a point of no return. If someone in your group burns the escape route, they're sending a message. We are in this until the bitter end, whether you agree or not. This theory reframes the whole episode. Fëanor may not have needed unanimous support. He just had to make sure no one could leave. By destroying the ships, he locks his people onto a path of war, kinslaying, and ultimately ruin. Even if some thought they were leading a noble quest, they now had no choice but to follow him into darkness. That's not just betrayal. That's authoritarianism. Fëanor positions himself as the center of purpose. Everyone else, whether kin or rival, is either fuel or freight. You might be thinking, isn't this giving Fëanor too much credit? After all, he's described as volatile and prideful, not Machiavellian. Isn't it more likely he just gave in to rage? Fair point. Fëanor is certainly known for his temper. He defies the Valar, sears his own hand when Morgoth steals the Silmarils, and generally treats moderation like a disease. But he's also a genius. He crafts the greatest jewels ever made, manipulates the political situation in Tyrion, and leads a significant portion of his people into rebellion against literal divine beings. That's not just a guy throwing tantrums. That's someone who knows how to play the board. So while the act might look impulsive, the effects were chillingly strategic. Whether or not Amrod's death was intended, the result was the same. Dissent silenced, retreat blocked, commitment sealed in blood and flame. And that brings us to character. This reading transforms Fëanor. He's no longer the tragic hero consumed by pride. He becomes something closer to a tyrant. A zealot who demands purity, who sees hesitation as weakness, and who would rather see comrades die than allow even a whisper of rebellion. It also casts new light on his sons. Medros, who later tries to make peace with Fingolfin, begins to look almost like a prisoner in his father's ideological cage. His silence during the burning may have been self-preservation or quiet protest. The fact that the brothers never confront their father directly suggests a culture of fear, even among family. And then there's the world building. Ship burning in ancient myth and history is often symbolic. It marks the point of no return. Think of Cortez scuttling his ships, or even the Vikings who believed that ships could ferry you to another world. In Tolkien's world, where ships cross not just seas but time and dimensions like the straight road to Valinor, burning ships has cosmic weight. Fëanor isn't just blocking escape. He's severing ties with the divine, with history, with peace. So let's recap. The standard reading sees Fëanor's burning of the ships as a petty act of betrayal against Fingolfin. But if we look closer, at Medros's hesitation, at the needless baggage remarks, and at the possible death of Amrod, we get a different picture. One where Fëanor is engaging in an authoritarian consolidation of power, eliminating dissent not just across the sea, but within his own camp. The flames at Losgar weren't just symbolic, they were surgical. Was Fëanor trying to win a war or trying to purge his people of doubters? Thanks for joining me here on this exploration of Middle-earth's deepest mysteries. Does the sabotage theory hold weight to you? Or do you think Fëanor just snapped? Let's get into it. And here's your challenge. If the ships had survived, if even one had remained, who among Fëanor's host would have taken it back? And how might that have changed everything that followed? Thanks for joining me at Third Age Ideas. If you like this theory, give it a like and subscribe. If you disagree, tell us why in the comments. Until next time, may your journey through Middle-earth be filled with wonder and discovery. See you in the next video.